Okay, this is a big story. As of last night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, it looked to us here on this show like the Maine Republican caucus was maybe in danger of having its results overturned, the same way that Iowa had its results overturned earlier this year. Remember, last month, Mitt Romney was initially declared the winner of the Iowa caucuses in a very close race where there was supposedly no provision for a recount. Then, just over 2 weeks later, the Iowa Republican Party reversed itself and said, oh, sorry, actually, it was Rick Santorum who won. Similarly, in Maine, this past Saturday night, the chairman of the Maine Republican Party came out and declared Mitt Romney had won the Maine caucuses. Like in Iowa, though, it was a very close margin. There were fewer than 200 votes between Mr. Romney and the second-place finisher, Ron Paul. Since then, it's come to light that big swaths of the state of Maine were not counted in that tally at all. After 4 days of resisting and dismissing questions about why entire towns and entire counties were left out of the Maine vote when the Maine Republican Party declared that Mr. Romney had won, finally today, the Maine Republican Party has announced that the results of their caucus are under review. Yes, they are. So as of right now, nobody knows who won Maine. Mitt Romney is in jeopardy of having not just Iowa taken out of his supposed win column this year, but Maine as well. In Maine, each county is now re-reporting their results to the state. That one eastern Maine county that we talked about on last night's show, Washington County, which postponed its caucuses last weekend due to an expected snowstorm, the state Republican Party now says results from that county will count, will likely at least count toward the state's total results. They say they're recommending that this weekend's caucuses in Washington County count, which would be a reversal of the state party's previous position. And knowing that Ron Paul is fewer than 200 votes behind Mitt Romney statewide, according to the state Republican Party, and knowing that there are nearly 7,000 registered Republicans in Washington County, which is voting this weekend, the Ron Paul campaign, is now organizing its butt off in Washington County to turn people out for that caucus on Saturday. Our guest from the Portland Press-Herald last night said he expects that Washington County may have turnout this weekend that exceeds the entire turnout in the whole rest of the state of Maine, because now they know the final results may depend just on them. But again, the state Republican Party essentially caved today, saying that the overall results of the Maine caucus are under review, and they would like to include Washington County once they finish voting this weekend. There are still three big outstanding problems, though. First, the Republican Party of the state says they would like to include the results from that one county, but they're not saying that they definitely will yet. So that's still kind of a problem. Second, the Maine Republican Party is not planning to conduct this review and announce the results, presumably, until March 10th, which is 3.5 weeks from now. And third, they're still being super dodgy. I mean, as we talked about last night, more than a dozen towns in Waldo County, Maine, held their caucuses earlier this month, held them in time. They reported their results to the state party, and then mysteriously, they ended up being recorded as zeros in the state party's official tally. Today, the Maine Republican Party chairman, Charlie Webster, indicated that those votes have now been counted, but he's not going to tell you what they are. He is refusing to release those numbers to anyone. He said, quote, "We don't want any more drama. I'm not going to restart the fire by releasing the updated results." So you're just going to keep the results a secret? I don't think that's going to reduce the drama. Despite the state chairman saying that to the press today, it now appears that those secret updated results are going to be released tomorrow. Now, it should be noted that this is not the Ron Paul campaign asking for a recount in Maine. The Ron Paul campaign doesn't really care. I mean, they only care about delegates. Remember, they even say that they won Colorado and Minnesota because they think they got the most delegates there. Doesn't matter what the poll said. The Ron Paul campaign doesn't necessarily care about poll results at all. But you know what? The country cares about this stuff, because this stuff has an effect on the narrative of the race. Coming into Maine, Mitt Romney had lost 3 state contests, including Missouri's, which was ridiculous and definitely didn't mean anything. But even that one helped shape the narrative that Mitt Romney was losing, and losing again, 3 in a row to Rick Santorum. And after losing 3 in a row to Rick Santorum, if Mitt Romney lost the next one in Maine to Ron Paul, that is a national narrative that really is very important for the presidential race. Also, had Ron Paul not been contesting Maine hard enough that it was possible that he might win the state, had there not been fewer than 200 votes between him and Mitt Romney, none of this would be happening in Maine right now. Now, that said, the Ron Paul campaign, although I think they deserve credit for this being under review now, they don't always help themselves when they try to make their arguments. Doug Weed, a senior advisor to Mr. Paul, appeared on this show on Tuesday night. He said that Washington County, this county that postponed their vote, that's going to vote this weekend, he said that Washington County was won by Ron Paul in 2008. And he also said that the fact that Washington County wasn't apparently going to be counted this year was a conspiracy against Ron Paul because Washington was the only county that Mr. Paul carried in Maine in 2008. Facts are, though, that Ron Paul did not win Washington County in 2008. John McCain won the county. Doug Weed also said that the caucuses in Washington County had been postponed in the first place because that county's Romney-supporting Republican chairman didn't want the state to tally up Washington County as a Ron Paul county in the state's results, and so that's why they suspended the caucus and put it off for a week. That county chairman joins us tonight for the interview. He is, in fact, a Mitt Romney supporter, but he says that the decision to delay Washington County's vote until this upcoming weekend had absolutely nothing to do with politics. Joining us now for the interview is Chris Gardner. He's the chairman of the Republican Party in Washington County, Maine. Mr. Gardner, we're really happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on this evening, Rachel.
First, let me say congratulations in that it looks like the state Republican Party is leaning toward counting the results of your caucus this weekend in the state's official results. I imagine you must be happy about that?
Yeah, we're pleased. Right from the beginning, we were hopeful and really believed that once all the facts and circumstances around this come out, we had the utmost faith that the party was going to do the right thing. It just took a few days for that process to work itself out.
When you informed the state party that you and the other Republican caucus officials in your area had decided to postpone the caucuses in Washington County because you expected that snowstorm, did you get any indication from them that the county might not count at that point?
Well, unfortunately, with that conversation, there was a little bit of confusion. When we called the state party headquarters to try to make sure that we kept ourselves, in line with party rules, we told them that, of course, we were going to choose to postpone. And again, that was a group decision by, all the different caucus callers, because in Maine, we don't caucus by county, we caucus by town. And each and every town had the choice of go and no go, and they all chose to postpone on the idea of public safety. And when we put that out to the party, they told us, of course, our numbers wouldn't be included in the national reveal, obviously. We wouldn't have had our vote by that point in time. But unfortunately, it was not made clear to us that our vote would somehow be left out of the count entirely. And once that announcement was made Saturday night, we were immediate to bring attention to that. And the party was receptive from the beginning to hear us out, and I'm glad that it's turning out the way that it is.
So just to be clear, you thought that on Saturday night they'd say something like, I'm making up a number, but 86% of the state has reported, and at this point Mitt Romney is in the lead, but these are not conclusive results. We haven't had full results from the state. You thought they'd say something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably what we were most anticipating, and we certainly knew that our numbers would not be there. We had no idea what the rest of the state's holes, if you will, were going to be, but we weren't anticipating a final call, if you will. Certainly there might have been enough precincts in that there could have been a projection on behalf of the state, but, we were surprised to hear that, at the time the state was calling the vote total as final.
It is probably not an exaggeration to say that the eyes of the political world, or at least the political country, are going to be on Washington County, Maine this weekend, which I imagine is both exciting and a little nerve-wracking. We had a guest from the Portland Press-Herald last night say that the turnout will probably be a lot higher than it usually would in Washington County because the county's essentially been told if you meet a certain threshold, you can flip the results in the state. Here's the threshold you need to meet. What are you expecting in terms of turnout, and are you guys prepared for it?
Well, we certainly understand that with all the attention that has been surrounding this, that we can probably count on seeing numbers that perhaps we haven't seen in the past. But, trying to make a projection on that right now would probably be foolhardy on our behalf because we won't know until the people show up. We have made all the allowances that are reasonable and possible for a small county like ours to tally the votes. And, we're looking forward to a great event. For what it is for Washington County, you're absolutely right. For as much of the narrative is that our votes wouldn't count, now with this attention, our votes will count more now than perhaps they ever would have. So, we're looking forward to a great event.
Mr. Gardner, I realize that it was a real pain to get to a camera in order to be on our show tonight.
Understood.
For which I'm very grateful that you took the time and were willing to talk to us about it. And I got to say, my only advice for you this weekend is pack granola bars in case you're there longer than you think you're going to be, and book an overflow room because you guys might be swamped. Good luck, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chris Gardner is chairman of Washington County, Maine's Republican Party. I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome watching that this weekend and see how that county reacts to now their critical position in whether or not Mitt Romney actually won the state of Maine. Amazing. All right. Reminder that right after our show, on The Last Word tonight, Lawrence is going to be interviewing Foster Freeze, the guy who just hours ago told Andrea Mitchell about the heretofore unknown prophylactic benefit of aspirin between your knees. Yeah. And here, Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey shows off his patented blend of furious and confused. That's next.